some trade pieces and want to make a move. This is what he had to say. With heightened expectations following the addition of 35-year-old DeMar DeRozan this offseason, the Sacramento Kings have underwhelmed thus far. Thus, executives around the league are monitoring if the team will be more willing to part with either future first-round draft picks, 24-year-old forward Keegan Murray, and rookie guard Devin Carter, who's yet to play this season. With DeRozan still playing at a high level, Domantas Sabonis thriving in his prime at 28, De'Aaron Fox having the best offensive season of his career at 26, ahead of becoming extension eligible for a massive pay raise, newly signed Malik Monk entering his prime at 26, and owner Vivek Ranadive hoping to make a run in the playoffs this season, there's a heightened sense of urgency in Sacramento. The Kings dangled Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles on the trade market last season and are expected to do so again this season, league sources said, with their salaries combining for roughly $25 million. So, to Dwayne's point and bouncing off of what Michael Scotto of HoopsHype just wrote, the question is, what's realistic? If they don't want to move, let's say Keegan is still untouchable and we're literally just trying to move Trey Lyles and Kevin Huerter, what's realistic, right? I mean, it's got to be the picks. And you ask the question, what's more valuable? Keegan Murray right now, Devin Carter, or picks, right? Would you rather move Kevin Huerter and Devin Carter for a Dorian Finney-Smith, or would you rather move a Kevin Huerter and a first rounder? And here's the other part of it. I feel quite awkward. I know it's my job, but I feel quite awkward having these conversations, and I wish the Kings would start winning games because, you know, we have practices and we got guys on the mic who will come on the show like Keon Ellis and guys that have done it as well. And I feel awkward talking about this. It's just the reality of the situation. You don't win games and you don't perform. There's just tough conversations to be had. And as far as Kevin Huerter is concerned, I'm not the one saying that he should be in these conversations. This is what's being reported. So I just felt like I need to say that. This is not we don't want Kevin Huerter in Sacramento. I heard he's a great dude, used to do hits on this year's station. That's all fine and good. These are the reports, and we're just going through the reports. And if you look around the Kings from a contract standpoint, there's not a lot to work with. So when people say, well, nobody wants a Kevin Huerter, that's not really the conversation. The conversation is to get what they do want, they have to make contracts work. And Kevin Huerter is not a scrub at all. He's been through some tough times last season, couldn't get right, then got injured, and he's still trying to get back. As he's trying to get back from that injury, he's suffering more injuries. So that's just the nature of the beast right now. So I just want everybody to understand this is not a what's your deal with Kevin Huerter? Why is he always a trade bait? Well, because there's just not many guys to choose from.
Yeah.
You know, Trey Lyles is only making $8 million, and Kevin Huerter's value is also higher than Trey Lyles. And I feel the same about Trey Lyles. He was on our show during media day, and he seems like a great dude. But we have to talk about this team improving. And right now, number one, they're not even playing. That's not their fault. But even when they were, there were conversations about, hey, this guy needs to be better. This guy needs to be better. And if you're not making the team better, I don't have to finish that statement. That's just what it is.
Well, so to answer the original question of what is realistic, even though, Mr. Stiles, it feels like the sky is falling for the Sacramento Kings at this point, the trade targets and candidates haven't changed because their cap situation hasn't changed.
Right.
I would be very, very, very surprised if Keegan Murray gets traded before the deadline this year. Maybe we'll come back in May and have all sorts of conversations about what is Keegan's contract worth on a rookie scale extension. Should they trade him? Can they package him? But I'd be surprised if in the next month and a half he ends up getting traded, given how much they've committed to him and invested in him over the last 2.5 years. I don't think they'd be so quick to give up on him after a 10-game stretch where he's really struggling offensively. Now, if that's the case, it's the same. What's realistic is the same situation we've been talking about since Lauri Markkanen was on the table back in July, which is the $20 to $30 million range forwards, the Kyle Kuzmas, the John Collins, the Dorian Finney-Smiths, the Cam Johnsons. If you want to go after Jeremy Grant, you probably have to include Devin Carter in the deal. Like that, those are the targets for the Kings. It's that $20 million range forwards would be considered a realistic splashy move. And the package would be Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and some combo of their young players and picks. The same trade package we've been talking about for months.
Same thing. And, as far as that conversation goes, when you look at what the Kings have done so far, you also have to realize that the other team needs to want what you're selling. Right. So it's not that anybody wants to move on from Devin Carter or future first round picks, but you got to give something to get something back. Scared money don't make no money. That's just the way of the world. And Kevin Huerter, who he still can be in this league, maybe, and I said this last season, maybe he's just not a starter. Maybe he is a guy who's just a sniper off the bench. Maybe this is just a moment in time where that's being realized. Or maybe he goes somewhere else and becomes a starter. Here's what's interesting, and we're going to get to these phone lines in a second here. See you, Will and Tim. Here's what's interesting, and it's almost similar to the Harrison Barnes thing. As far as Keegan Murray is concerned, the Kings will be in a tough spot either way. Because if Keegan Murray continues to struggle, then you would assume that his value isn't as high as it is. If Keegan Murray starts playing well, then you think, well, this is the guy that we thought we had, and now we don't want to move off of him, even though his value will start to creep up again. So they're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to sell low on Keegan Murray if he doesn't start playing better, or let's assume he does start playing better. Do you sell high when the value creeps back up, almost like stock, or I know there's some crypto bros out there, or do you sell high on Keegan Murray when that's going to tick off the fan base because, hey, Keegan's finally turning it around, don't move off him. So it's kind of a darned if you do, darned if you don't situation as far as Keegan Murray is involved.
Yeah, and thinking of it like Monty McNair, who is thinking of this from a longer-term perspective. I mean, everything they've invested in Keegan's growth and development since they drafted him. I mean, he's the highest draft pick they've had since Bagley. Mm-hmm. He started right away. He started 3 years now for them. They haven't even had a chance to talk to his agent about a contract extension yet because you can't negotiate until like April 15th, 2025 or whatever. So I would be stunned if they made that move now, given what they've been investing in him over the years. It's them better to hope that he turns it around or invest in coaching that will help him turn it around or whatever it takes to help the offensive game rather than sell low at this point when who's the player out there that you're like, yes, we have to trade Keegan Murray for him. That player doesn't exist right now.
And the other thing is right now they're just exposing Keegan Murray. So if I'm the Kings, if you're going to keep Keegan, you need to make a deal that brings in somebody that can lessen the load for Keegan Murray. Because right now, all you're doing is showing everyone that would be interested that he can't be that all-around guy right now. So I would say you need to bring somebody in or just say, I don't know if it's Keegan, you're not guarding top guards anymore. And I know they just starting Malik, but maybe let De'Aaron guard a top guard if De'Aaron wants to be all defense and be the steals leader. All I know is that that's not working. And if you have to if maybe the fours are concerned or whoever, but stop putting Keegan on twos and small threes, whatever it is, just lessen his load defensively a little bit. 916-339-1140. Let's go to Will. Wants to be part of the conversation. What's up, Will? Going down south. What you got?
What's up, fellas? Hey, man. Hey, look, it's depressing enough. Mm-hmm. Please stop playing clips of Mike Brown.
Why?
His analysis. No, because it don't make sense. It don't make sense. He's not saying anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's nonsense. But here's the thing: the Kings score for the most part. They score enough points, man. They can't guard the three. They can't play. They're not athletic enough to get out on guys. And then you guys never critique Sabonis, man. You know, critique Sabonis. Sabonis mm-hmm. in the fourth quarter, and this is Coach Brown and Sabonis' fault. Down the stretch in the fourth quarter, you got Yimby and Chris Paul. I mean, Chris Paul just outcoached Brown. I mean, they're setting up Monk and Fox to make a switch on Yimby.
Mhm.
I mean, about 4 or 5 times in a row. And he's one-on-one in the paint with a 2-foot guy on him, and he 8 feet tall. And Coach Mike Brown didn't make any adjustments to change that situation, and we lost
Will,
that too.
are you putting that on Coach Mike Brown, or are you putting that on Sabonis?
I'm putting it on both of them. If it happened once or twice,
Yeah.
fine. But it happened about 5 times. You saw that.
No, I saw. No, I know.
You saw it. And so who saw that?
No, they said that was the game plan, Will.
No, but my point is, I don't care what he say. It's idiotic. You know that's idiotic. If you and me playing a 5-year-old and I keep posting up a 5-year-old, you know, and nobody's making any change. No, man, you can't make that switch in the paint when you got an 8-foot guy down there on Monk and Fox.
I hear you, Will. Good stuff as always. Look, that was the plan. The other part of the plan was to live with the twos from Wemby if he's just going to just bang bodies down low, because that's not even what Wemby wants to do. He wants to be Kevin Durant. But if, hey, Wemby, you got a guard on you, you can't help but take them to the rack, right? And maybe you get fouled, whatever it is. The issue was that happening and Wemby scoring that way, then on the other side and or kicking it out, getting open threes. That wasn't supposed to happen. So they followed now, if you don't agree with the game plan and maybe, hey, based on what was happening in the game, and I'll give Will this, hey, coach, you need to adjust because they are hitting threes and now you're in a dogfight, so you can't just let Wemby do his thing. So now you have to adjust that. I hear you on that, but that was it's not that yes, let's talk about maybe the game plan not being something that you liked, but they did follow the game plan, and maybe the game plan should have changed once they were getting cooked and it was happening pretty late in the game. Maybe if that had been established earlier, it would have been different. So I do hear you, Will. You know I do. All right, let's get to the other side as we discuss what Matt Moore had to say about De'Aaron Fox. The question is, has De'Aaron Fox gotten enough help